And we are back on the stream with next to me AK40 ounce. My name is Whippin' Red Siren, and we are playing the second to last game with it, the European SMACKDOWN. And this is going to be a first announcing together with you, AK.
Yes, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me here. What a great experience. It's been a fun weekend. Some fantastic games, some great matchups, and very much looking forward to this one. I did some math before we got started here. The average point differential in the games this weekend has been 280. Now, the closest game we saw was actually the close game Friday night. It was 11-point differential between Detroit and Stockholm.
Yes.
And I think most of us were anticipating close games between Detroit and Crime City, and then Helsinki and Crime City, but Crime City showing themselves to be a serious up-and-coming power, taking strong wins in both those games. So this one stands to be a nail-biter, and hoping for a great matchup here.
Yes, definitely looking forward to this one. Helsinki has had one game break before they played, of course, against Crime City, that game you just mentioned. That was a beautiful game to watch. Such strong defense from both teams, and Crime City showed to be stronger and getting through a little bit easier than the Helsinki Jammers. But this one, Detroit, Helsinki, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to hearing you talk about these Detroit girls as well.
Oh, thank you. I'm very much looking forward to Helsinki again. I was happy to have that game earlier. Detroit, coming into this game, ranked at number 20 in the WFTDA. Helsinki, number 33 coming into this weekend. Of course, we'll see a lot of changes, largely in part thanks to Crime City, our host here at the European SMACKDOWN. Again, many, many thanks to the Crime City Rollers for bringing us this event. We are getting started, so quickly I'm going to do we'll jump in the next jam and do the rosters. Starting out first, we've got Meryl Slaughterberg in the red and white and black of Detroit. And she's opposed by Taru Saxelin, number 101, in the green of Helsinki.
And both jammers getting stuck behind a three wall because both teams losing one blocker to the penalty box already.
Lead jammer going to Meryl Slaughterberg out of turn one. Got knocked down but stayed in bounds, sprung back up, and has about a third of a track lead. Early penalty trouble for both teams. Detroit with two in the box, but Slaughterberg will roll around the outside, and tally will get some confirmation between the refs. Regardless, 0 points for Helsinki, and Cherry Fury, easy for me to say, picks up awards a pair of points to Meryl Slaughterberg.
Yes, and her specific way of showing two fingers is the devil's ear horns.
Also universal for I love you.
Showing love, yes.
Here we go. Lead jammer Jillian Rooker. Quick outside pass for the rookie Detroit jammer. We have a track cut forced on the inside to MIA Helsinki. So it's a power jam for Rooker and a quick first pass, 5 points.
And she has shown some fabulous jamming. If you say that is a premiere for her, I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah, she does have a pedigree of Olympic speed skater for the United States. This is her first calendar year playing roller derby, just transferred over from a small league outside of Detroit. There, she picks up another Grand Slam. So a strong start here for Detroit on the power of a power jam and a couple really good jams from some of their smaller jammers. They will go to Swift Justice next. The power start will continue. Real quick, let's hit these rosters.
For Detroit, we have 08 Jillian Ruckard.
Number 10, Swift Justice.
13, Off the Hook.
22, Jen Price.
241, Lollipop Some Heart.
28, Racer McChaser.
33, Cookie Rumble.
Tigo Hitties, number 38.
Number 4, Meryl Slaughterberg.
Number 40, Kelly Janai.
Number 428, Freakin' Ricken.
620, Laser Beam.
770, Peaches and Creamia.
And 989, Sarah Heupel. We will give you the full Helsinki roster after this jam right now. Swift Justice on the power start, being locked up in front by Saxelin. And the pivot.
Domino Effect.
Thank you. Pushing up Domino Effect, picking up a forearm penalty that will thin the pack out and allow Swift Justice to sneak by. Lead jammer for Detroit. That's 3 in a row. MIA takes a hip check off of Cookie Rumble, who is now sent to the box. Detroit losing their pivot. Both teams now with 3 blockers on the track. Swift Justice knocked out in turn 3 and calls it from the outfield. No points for Helsinki. And the Devil Horns go up for Detroit again.
Both pivots in the penalty box. That means both teams starting with 3 blockers on the track.
All right, let's hit Helsinki. Number 1, Janica Saxelin.
Number 101, Taru Saxelin.
156, MIA.
22, Matt Maloney.
257, Vega.
39, Maju Rinne.
404, Iris Suominen.
455, Domino Effect.
Sarah Ekholm, number 604.
666, Jonna Ojala.
77, Red.
88, Varpu Gnutila.
Number 90, Sala Kajalainen.
And 94, Tina Kimari.
First lead jammer here for Helsinki, just out of turn 1. That is Mad Maloney. She has had some trouble this weekend, especially in the game earlier against Crime City, but off to a good start here versus Detroit. Track cut now, Meryl Slaughterberg, Power Jam Helsinki.
And Mad Maloney pushing those 2 blockers in the front out of the play, and she scores a grand slam for Helsinki. Both teams got all the blockers back on the track, and Domino Effect trying to hook around one of the blockers to give offense, but that means that she gets another penalty, forearm penalty, to sit down in the penalty box.
Kelly Janai forcing Mad Maloney to the infield. She'll reset and call it off, but had accrued all 5 points eligible on that pass. So Helsinki coming back 10 points. Detroit adding 3 to their total. They have 18. And we've got 4.5 minutes gone in this game.
And Varpu Knutila is the only jammer on the track right now because number 4, Meryl Slaughterberg, is standing up in the penalty box, ready to go back on the track.
So a quick power start here. You see Detroit shifting up towards the pivot line. Kill some of that penalty time for their jammer. Nice offensive sweep from Helsinki. 2 defenders up front for Detroit. That's Cookie Rumble with the pivot stripe and Sarah Heupel. They get joined now by Freakin' Rican and Tego Hitties. Freakin' Rican pushing Kunutila out. And here comes Slaughterberg dealing with Saxelin up front. Goes out, picks up lead jammer, but gets knocked out of bounds. And she will get reabsorbed into the pack and call it off. And not allow Kunutila to get back in and score points. 0-0 jam.
And Sarah Ekholm, they're showing a lot of awareness that last second, still getting around that jammer and hitting her out, forcing her to call off that jam even after she got that lead jammer.
We've got Jillian Ruckert back to the line for Detroit, up against MIA in the green for Helsinki. Detroit with a 4-point lead. This is jam number 6. Ruckert up front, got a little help from Racer McChaser, but a great recovery from Helsinki's defense. Oh, and we've got a forearm now on MIA. And it's going to be a brief power jam for Detroit. Track cut on Jillian Ruckert, so now both jammers will be released in short order, and we're going to go the full 2 minutes.
And that's going to be fun with these 2 teams showing such good defense already. Look at those walls. Supporting each other, keeping it slow. They're not even in turn 1 yet.
Detroit's Kelly Janai, one of the captains, jumping up to play offense for Jillian Ruckert. Does a good job of breaking things up, but a quick reformation by Helsinki. However, Ruckert finds her way around the outside to finish her initial pass. MIA through after taking some hits. Now clear of the pack and eligible to score. Here comes Ruckert. Takes a shirt whip off Janai. Gets hit to the outfield. Goes to call it. Is not lead jammer. So it will not be called off. She tallies 4 for Detroit.
The coach hits himself in the head because he should have known that she was not able to call it off.
Well, I can tell you as a coach myself, we all make those mistakes.
I know, yeah.
Thankfully, the ref didn't make a mistake, at least for Detroit fans. Yeah. Of course, calling it off when you're not lead is a penalty. 5 points for Ruckert. Goes for the apex jump, but gets picked off there by the pivot, number 39, Mayurine. Ruckert resets, scrambling. Meanwhile, MIA has the star in hand. Gets knocked down by Janai on the outfield. Coming into turn 3. Ruckert sent to the infield in the turn by Helsinki. Will reset and finish the scoring pass after a quick juke. 5 more points for Detroit.
Star pass is deemed illegal. So we will see somebody going to the penalty box. Who? Yes, that is MIA or Mia. She says that you can say it both.
Okay, good.
She
I've
listens
been
to
saying
both.
MIA.
Yeah, I asked her, and Mia is also good. So she sits down in the penalty box with the penalty cover in her hand right now. Means a power start for Detroit.
Detroit going back to number 4, Meryl Slaughterberg. Full packs on the track. Jammer advantage for 30 seconds. Slaughterberg spun out, and they said yes, she did cut the track, so it will be an abbreviated power start for Detroit and now an abbreviated power jam for Helsinki.
Helsinki still eligible to become lead jammer because of the start from the penalty box. So let's see if she can make that happen. And the rest of the team is trying to help her out. Speeding forward, she stays inbounds, skipping on her toe stops along that inside line, becomes lead jammer.
And we saw this from Helsinki earlier in the Crime City game. They do a very good job of getting the pack moving just to get that speed up so the blockers kind of shift apart. They can't just lock down on defense like we see Helsinki doing right now against Slaughterberg. No pack is called. Domino Effect will drop back, but a strong 3 triangle formation holding back Slaughterberg.
And Slaughterberg is trying it again, trying to inch her way forward to maybe push them out of play. And now one more person needs to bridge, but they do hit her out of bounds at the end of that straightaway.
Direction of gameplay on Ekholm. But a nice recovery after starting in the box for Helsinki. They will put 5 on their total, bring them up to 15. Detroit with 28. Just about 10 minutes gone in this first half of gameplay.
And next up to jam, Swift Justice for Detroit wearing the red, and for Helsinki that is Taru Sakselin wearing the green.
Detroit with a 3-2 pack advantage. They're going to shift to take the front just before the jam start. Both jammers now hitting the pack, scrambling. Good recycle from Helsinki's pivot, but she gets beat, and lead jammer goes to Swift Justice.
Taru Sakselin still stuck behind the blockers. The pivot from Detroit, number 13, off the hook.
Grand slam scoring pass right there for Swift Justice, and a forearm penalty called on Taru Sakselin, so it is another power jam for Detroit. Locked down up front by Karjalainen. Another penalty to her. As they get a blocker back, they'll lose one to the box. Power jam rolls on Swift Justice, still in lead and adding points.
And Detroit making it difficult for Helsinki to keep all the players on the track. Detroit themselves also going to the penalty box sometimes, but it seems like it's not as often as Helsinki. And that might make a difference in this game. Yeah, we will start this next jam as a power jam with Cookie Rumble jamming for Detroit with 3 blockers to try to keep her behind them.
An interesting fact about Cookie Rumble, who picks up lead jammer just out of turn 1. Cookie Rumble has been playing for 11 years. She has been playing roller derby longer than there has been roller derby in Europe.
Yeah.
She is the longest tenured skater here this weekend, followed shortly thereafter by Sarah Heupel and Racer McChaser. Multiplayer block on Freak and Reek and thins out Detroit's pack, but Helsinki going to lose their pivot. Domino Effect to the box as well. 4 points for Rumble.
Taru Sakselin also out of the pack, finishing her initial pass about a third of a lap behind, and the jam gets called off. 3 points added to the score of Detroit, making it 48 points for Detroit against 15 for Helsinki.
7-point jam for Cookie Rumble.
So Detroit is bringing it, because I did not expect this outcome. Well, we got almost halfway the first period, and I would have thought that Helsinki would have had a higher score at this point.
Well, the thing you have to consider is they did have that short turnaround.
Yep.
Now, Detroit faced that same issue yesterday. Not necessarily the short turnaround, but they had the long day. First game in the morning, last game at night after playing the night before. Right now, getting some momentum, Mad Maloney, lead jammer for Helsinki. This will be her second time with lead. We'll get in, and if no points, okay, I was wondering if Freakin' Rican had stepped on the track from the box. If she had stepped on the track, Mad Maloney would have got the point for her in any box points, but since she was still returning from the box, she does not get the points for that, so a 0-0 jam.
Next jam with the star on the helmet, it's Swift Justice and Majorine, but we do have an official timeout right now, which gives us a chance to give a shout out to Rydell and Radar for sponsoring the MVP awards. At the end of this game, we will announce the MVPs. The audience here will have voted for an MVP blocker and an MVP jammer, and the announcers will also choose one person as an MVP. So thank you,
Difficult decision.
And yeah,
there have been some great performances. I mean, there are multiple blockers on each team that really get a lot of consideration, and of course, some great jamming performances too. Here we go, back to the action. Helsinki lead jammer. That's 2 in a row for them. Rene with the finger of power. Meanwhile, Swift Justice still in the pack, locked up by Helsinki. Detroit with only 2 blockers. Cookie Rumble knocked to the infield, so it leaves Tigo Hitties, the solo blocker. She cannot contain, and 5 points goes up. Another penalty now to Detroit.
Detroit now having some penalty trouble. One leaving the box, the other one entering the box. Sarah Heipel standing up to leave the box right now.
Off the hook, in. After the penalty, takes the star from Swift Justice, and Detroit focusing on offense. This isn't one of the things they had an issue with yesterday, as another Grand Slam goes up for Helsinki. They're dedicating to offense and not switching back to defense fast enough, so they gave up a couple quick passes to Rene, who gets another one skipping through on the inside there. Meanwhile, off the hook, sent out of bounds on the outfield. Blocker who knocked her out, taken down, so she is able to come back in.
And of course it is a choice of strategy. If you want to go full offense to maybe prevent the other jammer from multiple scoring passes and try to get your jammer out, yeah, it's a choice you can make as a team, of course. And usually teams try to switch back to defense because, yeah, that is mostly what we do in the roller derby. Trying the other jammer not to pass, have passed you. But yeah, and you see the teams that are the swiftest in switching between those two, the offense and the defense, are usually the ones winning the game.
Yeah, 20-point jam rate there for Helsinki, more than doubling their points. And this is what will happen, though, especially when you get stuck playing offense. You can do the quick offense. The issue Detroit had was they had only one player out there, and she was dedicated to offense, of course. Helsinki is so good. Yeah. They've got all their blockers out there, so it was 1-on-4, essentially, trying to break Swift Justice out of the pack. And in that situation, you get big runs like this. A couple quick scoring passes, and this game's back tight. 16 points separate these teams with 14:45 left in the first half of gameplay. Detroit bench right there coming out of this timeout. Their mantra this year, can't stop, won't stop.
And getting ready for the next jam are Varpu Knuttila and Meryl Slaughterberg.
And coming out of this timeout, a signal for an official timeout. So our delay will be extended as the officials confer. Box is clear.
See the head ref going to both coaches. Maybe get some information out what they want the players to do, be aware of.
As they're discussing, it takes some time to think. Our presenting sponsor, Sucker Punch, Europe's finest roller derby shop, owned and operated by derby skaters. It's more than a store. They're a workshop where they can mount and fix your skates. They have the largest range of in-stock items, so you can walk out the door with the wheels, skates, protective gear, anything that you want or need. They have an easy web shop and simple and fast shipping online, so make sure you check them out. That's Sucker Punch, proud sponsors of the European SMACKDOWN. So, your early feelings about this game, Whip, as we mentioned, 51-35, Helsinki striking back in that last one. But what are you seeing out there that's making the difference?
Well, I think definitely the penalties. Both teams are having some troubles, and in that last couple of jams, Detroit had more penalties than Helsinki. So now they are kind of pulling back. Helsinki is pulling back because of that also, I think, because that advantage is what they will need, because they are, I think, pretty matched. They're well matched. That will make a difference in how many players are on the track, actually.
That's right, and it's really impressive to see what makes the difference, I think, between high-level teams like this and the highest-level teams are when you see a team like London in a bit of penalty trouble, they can put two players out there who can really run the track. We've seen that from Crime City this weekend, too. They get in penalty trouble, but they can still really work that two-person defense back and forth and cover a lot of track. And, of course, one issue that often occurs when we've got, penalty trouble, one person goes to the box, so somebody then feels they have to make up for that, and then they end up overreaching and getting penalties, and that's how you have this sort of wave of penalty trouble come about.
And also the mental part of it. If you get a lot of penalties in a row, then it takes a strong person to really not be influenced by that and think, oh my goodness, I'm going down, or I know I'm a skater myself, and I know that's sometimes really tough when you get penalty after penalty in a short time. So that is something that teams work on. I know for myself, I work on that, and it is it's seeming like we need an extra ref to change clothes.
I did see Cherry Fury skate off the track and towards the locker room area, and now we have our referee alternate preparing to gear up. So if we could, we'll try and send somebody down there just to get clarification. Meanwhile, as you are joining us on the stream, please feel free to tweet at us, #talk2SmackDown. That's some nice feedback. If you feel like sending pictures of your watching experience, comments, shout-outs, anything, we'll take that into account.
Are you wearing any shirts to support the teams on the track, perhaps? Show us. Or do you have pets joining in and watching these fabulous games?
#pets of WFTDA.
Yes. Or maybe if you're from across the world, show us where you're from in a picture or in your statement.
Yeah, I know we've had viewers, of course, from America. We've had viewers from Australia chime in this weekend and all across Europe. If you're from any of those places or anywhere else, especially anywhere exceptionally exotic, Antarctica, for example, please let us know.
Maybe some of my league mates want to shout out on Twitter or on Facebook. #TalkToSmackDown with the numerical number 2. #TalkToSmackDown.
All right, so we have had a referee change, and we'll get back to the action. 14:45 left in the first half. 51-35, Detroit leads Helsinki and has lead jammer with Meryl Slaughterberg. Kurutila being forced out. Great job by Racer McChaser to keep her body on and ride Kurutila to the outfield. And she's going to lose 60, 70, 80 feet almost. Meanwhile, Slaughterberg jumping past Karjalainen to finish her first scoring pass.
Kelly Janai trying to get a cut track penalty out of that hit, but she was able to stay in bounds. Now, coming into the pack, of course, that call off preventing any points for Helsinki.
One more point for Slaughterberg on that last scoring pass. Since we did mention shoutouts, I would absolutely Love to give a shout out to the folks back home in Detroit and the Detroit Derby Girls for helping support both my and Heidath's travel out here to announce at European SMACKDOWN.
We got Ireland watching. Limerick Roller Derby, thank you for sharing that you're watching us.
Forearm call right off the start for Janica Saxlin. Taro Saxlin. I get them confused. Oh, and a forearm penalty. Now Jillian Rookard. So brief power jam for about 2 seconds. And Taro Saxlin out of the box now. This will be a 2-minute jam. Jillian Rookard about a quarter track behind her. Full packs on the track. Detroit with the front braced wall. Being pushed up, slowed down now by Jen Price. Price going backward, holding back Saxaline out there with Sarah Heupel, Tigo Hitties. Meanwhile, in the back, Saxaline domino effect. Doing a great job against Rookard.
And we've seen Domino Effect play a lot of jams. She usually has like 2, 3, maybe even more jams in a row.
Oh, and that's going to be a misconduct penalty on Janica Saxaline, who knocked Rookard to the infield and was on top of her, which did not allow her to get up. They'll be blocking a down skater, so that'll get her 30 seconds in the box.
And of course, that was deemed avoidable, but you could see her losing her balance and trying to get away. But yeah, that's how it is sometimes. You cannot prevent that penalty happening.
Aggressive jamming right there from the former pivot turn jammer, Domino Effect, blasting Detroit wall apart and getting out in front. Meanwhile, Rookard being slowed up just for a second and finishes her scoring pass. It's a call and response right now. Jen Price holding the inside line against Domino Effect. Nice job by freaking Rican to push back Domino as Rookard speeds by for a grand slam.
Yeah, and then speed skating comes in handy, right?
Yeah, it does.
And
well,
it's
not just the speed either. It's her transitions, especially along the edges.
Yes.
And her balance is just absolutely phenomenal to watch.
And you can see that when skaters have had experience in another sport, like Matt Maloney also as a figure skater before joining roller derby, you can see that in their skills on these roller skates that they just easily turn and twist and get their way and that balance on one leg along the line.
Yeah,
yes.
And that's I don't know about your experience prior to skating roller derby, but mine was very limited. So I do envy those skaters who had a long history of skating before they joined the sport, because it seems to come a little bit more naturally to them.
It sure does.
Cookie Rumble lead jammer, her previous skating experience was nothing. That was 11 years ago, so she's been able to build up her skating talents.
Yes. And
tiptoeing on the inside line, taken down. Great job by Rick, who pulled the inside line against Rumble and forced the call off.
Yeah, for me, skating before roller derby had just been fun. I have a lot of skating experience. I've been skating since I was 11. And then in the 80s, roller disco.
Yeah, oh, there you go. A little bit different skill set, but I'm sure still applicable.
Definitely.
And probably win some dance-offs that way, too. 75 for Detroit, 47 for Helsinki. Just over 10 minutes left in the first half. Swift Justice up against Mad Maloney. I did mention earlier, Mad Maloney had a little bit of difficulty against Crime City. More successful so far against Detroit. Already with a couple lead jammers, and she does it again. Galloping along the outside line, lead jammer Helsinki.
That sideways gallop. And Swift Justice having some trouble getting past Janica Saxalin, but another sideways galloping from Swift Justice, finishing her initial pass. Matt Maloney finishing that scoring pass with 4 points. And I would like to say something about these this officiating crews, because we just saw that something happened, and very swiftly it just runs smoothly. They are doing such a good job. NSOs and skaters, skating referees, they are doing a fabulous job, and the whole organization. I mean, the food is also really good.
The hosting has been phenomenal. Like
yes.
many thanks to the Crime City Rollers for hosting this event. Right now we've got Meryl Slaughterberg taking a hip-to-hip check and going down on the near straightaway. Meanwhile, almost out of the pack was MIA, but she gets taken down and reset and loses the turn. Slaughterberg now up front, gets some help from Laserbeam. MIA scrambling. Racer McChaser now Janai. Can't get it all the way out. Great balance from MIA. She does get sent out, thereby off the hook. Meanwhile, lockdown brace 2-wall. Great one-on-one play. Just powered to the ground by Racer McChaser. Off the hook, gonna drop back now.
And MIA or Mia has had some trouble in this jam. She's getting a lot of big hits from the Detroit blockers. They know that she can work through them, and they prevent her from getting anywhere.
Meanwhile, up in front, similar difficulties for Meryl Slaughterberg. Big clearing block by Janai, but they quickly reform. No pack reformed as Janai re-enters the pack and jumps into play offense. Lockdown in the back, Laserbeam off the hook, and Racer McChaser have MIA pinned down.
And Helsinki just doesn't seem distracted by that offense. They just reset themselves again and keep her stuck.
She's gonna keep trying though. Janai keeps jumping up, throwing some different looks at Helsinki. But again, and it was really exemplified in that Crime City game, as Helsinki going to lose a blocker now, and Meryl Slaughterberg with that one blocker out will get through with lead jammer.
Just only 7 seconds left in the jam.
Yeah. One of the things we saw a lot from Helsinki 2 hours ago and Crime City was they're so good at taking offense and just rolling around it, reforming around it, anticipating offense, and adjusting their feet and their stances to minimize the effect.
Yeah, and that jammer does not get any space. I mean, the one person that holds the jammer is keeping that jammer. The rest is just resetting around that offense, as you say. And that's so beautiful to watch because they just don't move forward at all, or maybe a half a meter, and still have her in that lockdown. Oh, nice move there by Ruckart. She turns around that block and becomes lead jammer for Detroit.
Saxaline still held up on initial pass, gets passed there by Ruckart. Scrambling back and forth, trying to get low, finding any kind of room, spun out just before turn 1, and we'll have to come back and reset. Saxaline is out, but another track cut. A lot of penalty trouble here for Saxaline in the first half.
Yes, I'm
Saxaline to specify.
Yeah. I'm imagining that she might be a bit tired from that game against Crime City, because that was a tough game to play for them.
It was. They have a deep jammer rotation, though, does Helsinki. So we weren't seeing anybody being completely overworked. Again, that will take it out of you, though. Detroit was quite vociferous on how brutal Crime City is to deal with in the pack. Track cut now on Jillian Ruckart. And again, we see Helsinki's jammer go to the box, and then Ruckart picking up a penalty almost immediately following. So it'll be a power jam here for Taru Saxaline and Helsinki.
And Taru Saxaline now entering that wall. She is able to create gaps in that wall, has only one blocker left to pass, Tigohidis, and is able to do so. That was her initial pass. No lead jammer because she had been in the penalty box, of course. Now on her scoring pass.
Well, I was just going to say, she's scrambling back and forth, getting a lot of good foot movement in there, but Detroit, with all 4 defenders, able to cover that track. Ruckart is out of the box, but Helsinki they're waiting for. Offense from Freakin' Rican.
Another penalty for Ruckart. And
did not see the call, however.
I didn't see it either, but it seemed like maybe blocking a down skater.
Okay. I was watching the penalty call up front as Freakin' Rican was sent to the box. And I'm waiting to see, because the jam ref is going over to talk to the outside pack ref. I think there may have been some confusion. I think she may have heard 8 and gone to the box thinking it was her when it may have been Freakin' Rican. We'll get some discussion from the refs just to make sure. Yes, an official timeout. I caught it. Yeah. The advantages of announcing after reffing for years.
Definitely an advance, yeah. That might as well been that mix-up because there was something happening right in front of us, but what it was difficult to see.
Yeah, I was hearing from the outside pack ref, red 428. I forget the specific penalty, and he was repeating it, and then I saw Rookard skate off. It was 0-8. Freakin' Rican wasn't, for some reason, it didn't register. Wasn't like she was ignoring it; she just wasn't hearing it.
Yeah, and I did not see the jammer ref signal anything.
I didn't either, but they conferred, and it apparently was a points question. So 1 point for Detroit, and they're still in the box. We'll check at halftime to find out what that penalty was, just out of curiosity.
Yes.
Okay, so our score 81-56. Helsinki with the power jam and an opportunity to close this gap. 4:10 left in the first half.
And that is Varpu Knutila being blocked over the line, and it almost looked as if she was blocked by her own blocker. And she is able to tiptoe on that inside the turn 2 and is lead jammer. Of course, it is still a power jam with Rookard now standing up and being released from the penalty box. Knutila on a scoring pass right now, finding the opening on the outside, able to pass Racer McChaser. And at this point, Rookard is facing 4 blockers and just loses her balance right and lands partly over the line. And just to be safe, she goes back to the back of the pack.
One-on-one up front with laser beam is Kurtila. Now Racer McChaser, they're bridging out. They warn of the out of play. And Kurtila finishes a 4-point scoring pass. So Helsinki, some more headway there, taking advantage of the power jam. They close the gap now to 16 points. Detroit 81, Helsinki 65, and Helsinki not getting down. They keep fighting back, and despite even going to the box, it seems every time that Helsinki is going to the box, their jammers are coming out more determined to get out there and score points and make up for that time set in the box.
And for the first time in this game, we see Sarah Heipel as jammer for Detroit, wearing the red shirt, and she is accompanied by Maju Rinne with the star on the helmet.
Yeah, Rinne has jammed, but not a lot here in the first half. Oh, and she is going to the box. It's going to be a low block penalty on the Helsinki jammer, so it's a power jam now for Sarah Heipel. Sarah Heipel picking up lead jammer, almost cut the track. Again being forced out and then hit into Tigo Hiddies, knocking Janica Sexaline into Heipel, who slides through. Beautiful move on the inside. What a great transition.
And she checks her feet. Did I stay inbound? And then starts skating off for another scoring pass. And with a little bit of help from Tigo Hiddies, having those Helsinki blockers move just a little bit so it is easier for a jammer to get through. And Majorina back on the track, served her penalty, now pushing, facing the blockers from Detroit.
Yeah, finds some slowing down on the outside, goes back to the inside, beats Peaches and Cremia to finish her initial pass. Meanwhile, Heipel with points calls it off. She did get all 5 with the jammer to that point, so that'll make this a 21-point game. 86-65, just over a minute left. Let's check some Twitter real quick and see if we got any updates. Remember, you can talk to us. Hashtag #2SmackDown.
Well, we do have a question about the halftime entertainment here in the venue. If Roller Polar Bear is going to be throwing shoes, and there is a show going to happen. You have to throw your shoe, but maybe you can do that at home.
Yeah.
Throw a shoe at Roller Polar Bear.
There you go. Lead jammer again. Mad Maloney has been the most consistent jammer option, at least for lead jammer for Helsinki. Gets through Swift Justice, jumps the apex, and lands it, picks up 4 points.
Does slide out on the outside of the track there, but was able to just go back in, and now on another scoring pass.
Maloney up against Racer McChaser, out of play warning. Racer releases, comes back to play offense with the rest of her team, and Spring Swift Justice finds room on the inside, weaves down and around Suominen, and finishes a 4-point scoring pass. Of course, Mad Maloney is lead jammer. She'll get another scoring pass in herself. 4 more, and that will bring us to halftime. Before I say the total points, I'm going to let them do their math down there. It is 94-71, so, see, it always happens.
Yeah.
94-73, so that one a push, and we still have a 21-point game. Exciting first half.
Yes, very exciting. We saw that Detroit took the lead pretty fast and pulled it off, but the Helsinki is coming back, point by point. There's still that 21-point differential at this moment, but it looks like Helsinki is getting their second win maybe, and maybe with after the halftime, they feel refreshed. And,
that's right. They will get a nice break. We are not fully into halftime yet. There is an official review coming from Helsinki right at the end following that last jam. And you did mention the referees, of course, and everybody working here to make this such a phenomenal weekend. The refs have done a great job, of course. I myself am often vociferous about the ref calls at times, but they have done a good job. I feel like they've gotten more consistent throughout the weekend, and that's great for tournaments because you have refs who get to work together and find kind of that medium. We're going to send it down to the refs for the official review.
This is Helsinki's official review. They are challenging the lack of cutting call on Detroit's jammer.
All right, so the refs will confer. But again, I feel like we should mention the NSOs. Incredible job this weekend. And
Definitely.
You can always tell when an event like this runs smoothly, it's all the people in the pink shirts doing their job. There haven't been long delays for scoring errors or penalty box issues. They've kept on top of things, and it's nice to see such a high level of quality officiating developing here in Europe.
And let's say that there are 13 nationalities represented in the officials' crews. Yes.
That is phenomenal.
Yes.
Worldwide, baby. Going worldwide. So as they confer, again, it's been nice. A little bit of back and forth, mostly Detroit in the lead. They still have that lead by 21 points. And feel free to tweet us at halftime or in the second half. This will be our last game on the stream. There is one more regulation game that will follow that will not be streamed due to the requests of the teams participating, as it is not a sanctioned game. They're going to be, quote, trying out some new things. So those of us who are in-house will have the pleasure of seeing some interesting things like Master Blaster's first time in a London jersey.
Yay. Well, we will await the results of this official review, and in the meantime, we can get excited about that last game, and the people here are going to have a blast.
Yeah, it's been a raucous crowd for all the Crime City games.
Definitely, yeah. They have their own brass band, and they have their personalized songs for the skaters. They really, really make it work.
And they've been such a huge help, I think, just for the energy and the morale here. Of course, Crime City going 3-0 this weekend. Big surge up the rankings will result. Right now, Detroit 1-2. Would love to come out of this one even. And Helsinki 1-1 with a win over Glasgow and a loss to Crime City. Glasgow, of course, winless this weekend, but hashtag different kind of winning has come out for them as they're in a rebuilding year. We're going to send it back down for the decision.
In review, Detroit's jammer did indeed go out of bounds on the outside due to a contact on the inner side of the track and re-entered ahead of the initiator, therefore improving their relative position over the initiator. There will be a cutting call issued to the Detroit's jammer. No official review to retain.
So not often do you get those, but a wise choice in calling that official review at the end. Detroit will start in the box. It'll be a power jam for Helsinki. They trail by 21, but we'll have a big opportunity out of halftime.
Yes.
Oh, man, this is a game. We still got 30 minutes left in it. I need to take a breather. I don't know about you.
Yeah, and we need to pick an MVP.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So we're going to go do that. Enjoy the next 10 to 15 minutes or so, we'll be back with the final half here from the European SmackDown in just a little bit. Welcome back, folks. Still streaming live for 30 more minutes of amazing roller derby action here from the European SmackDown. I am AK40 Ounce here with Whip and Red Siren, bringing you the last 30 minutes of play. We've got Detroit and Helsinki. Close game so far. It's been a great battle. And development right at the end of that first half. Helsinki called their official review after the last jam and got Detroit's jammer put in the box for a track cut. So we're going to be starting Helsinki down about 21 points, but they'd have power jam to start things off.
Power jam to start things off, and that will definitely give them high spirits to start this second period. And of course, Detroit, how will that affect them at that first jam? Because I know as a player that a first jam can really make a difference in how you mentally feel in a game. And then you, if it doesn't work in that first jam, then you really have to work and reset. And if that first jam happens and it just flows and everything is working, then you're in the flow and you can keep that for the next jams. So yeah, that could be helpful for Helsinki to maybe pull through and maybe make it even more exciting.
Maybe. All right, folks. Again, thanks to Sucker Punch for helping put this on. Europe's finest roller derby shop, owned and operated by derby skaters. Also, thanks to Crime City. I'm going to say it a million times. It has been an absolute pleasure working here. Thanks to all of our announcing crew, as well as the officials, the skaters, working all around, helping everything run incredibly smoothly. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we're thrilled to bring you this last 30 minutes. Remember, you still have some time to shout at us. Hashtag talk, the number 2 is SmackDown. And we got some mentions on stream. Got to give a shout out to Sham Wow watching back home in Detroit. And everybody who is tuned in from over in the States, we thank you for joining us, and all across the world. And personal, again, shout out Appa Torture and Bella, I'll hurt you. I have some Swedish candy coming back for you. Thank you so much for helping us get here.
And both teams have all the blockers on the track, but of course, as we mentioned, one jammer on the track, and that is Matt Maloney for Helsinki. And she is a transfer from Stockholm Roller Derby, skating for Helsinki now and lead jammer in this first jam of the second period.
And that's an excellent choice. Some great management decision right there. Matt Maloney has been the most successful consistently as a jammer for Helsinki. Right there, having some difficulty on this second scoring pass. Kelly Janai goes for the hit and misses. Great speed from Maloney. That's a grand slam. It's going to make it 16 points the difference. Helsinki still trailing, but on the power jam.
And Helsinki blockers getting ready for Swift Justice to return on the track. After serving her penalty, she does not wear the star on her helmet to maybe confuse Helsinki, but they are not fooled.
Oh, massive takedown right there. Mad Maloney coming in incredibly hot, taking down Laserbeam. And we do have a track cut on Swift Justice, who had not passed the star, so we're going to extend this to a full minute of power play for Helsinki in this jam. Laserbeam getting a body on Mad Maloney, but she keeps moving forward, pushing up against Detroit.
And as we said, this jam could make a difference, and the score now 94 for Detroit, and Matt Maloney calling off the jam, putting another 5 points on the board. 93 for Helsinki. This is now a 1-point game.
Wow. They will carry the power jam over. Swift Justice standing in the penalty box. So Detroit will, again, for the second jam this half, start without a jammer.
And let us know what you think of this score. Talk to SmackDown. Hashtag talk number 2, SmackDown.
Mad Maloney, another big jam, 20 points right there to bring this into a 1-point game. No pack called, quickly reforms. 1-on-1. Great work right there by Irene to work around Rumble. Here comes Swift Justice. 2 to beat up front. Cookie Rumble left all alone with Rene going 1-on-1 backwards, getting her locked up. but Rene going to find some work after about 20 feet. And we'll get through 4 points. We have a lead change and a star pass. Rumble now with the start for Detroit, and Helsinki in the lead. Rene hits the pack, slow pack. Oh, they left that outside open for the offensive sweep, and that gets Rene some movement. She'll call it off before Rumble can get back around. Detroit has not put up any points in the second half. Helsinki, quick math, 28 points.
And now taking the lead in this second period. And as we mentioned, that flow in that first jam, it's working at this moment for Helsinki. Let's see what Jillian Ruckart can do for Detroit.
It's Varpu Kurutila jamming, stepping lively back and forth, making Detroit work the edges. Meanwhile, Ruckart pushing up against Helsinki, just getting in there, digging in and pushing. Detroit now going to have to come back and play offense as lead jammer goes to Kurutila.
A clockwise block called on number 241 Lollipop Samhart.
Vega off to the box for Helsinki. Scoring pass for Helsinki and a call off. She got it just in time. Ruckart, no points. 4 more points for Helsinki. They extend their lead now 11 points. It's a 105 Helsinki, 94 Detroit.
So this promises to be that excitement that we wanted. Matt Maloney lined up for Helsinki against Meryl Slaughterberg. For Detroit, Detroit wearing the red, Helsinki skating in green.
A great job by Matt Maloney recognizing the defensive situation, helping out. Oh, outside pack ref says forearm on Meryl Slaughterberg. Not lead in the box, and now lead for Helsinki. Penalty troubles were an issue for both teams in the first half at the jammer position. Nice movement right there and a quick grand slam for Matt Maloney.
Both teams back with full blocker force. Matt Maloney trying to find that hole, getting that friendly side from Kaijalainen.
Yeah, Kamari with a great offensive block at the beginning of that pass. Detroit now setting up in the back, waiting for Maloney as Slaughterberg out of the box gets sent out by Maloney, who then goes out herself. No pack called. Helsinki gonna drop one to Bridge. Slaughterberg scrambling, taken down on the line. That was Carolinen.
And Matt Maloney waiting for her offense to distract Detroit blockers, so she has that opening on the outside, putting another 5 points on the board for Helsinki.
15 points already in this jam. Helsinki incredibly strong in the second half. Detroit still not yet putting points up on the board in the second half.
Slaughterberg pushing really hard. You can see the calf muscles working against that triangle from Helsinki. Helsinki not distracted by the offense, resetting their defense right away.
Now the thing, as Maloney coming around for another scoring pass and gets sent to the outfield there by Lollipop Samhart just out of turn 4. She picks up 3 more points. The thing I noticed, the offensive failure of Detroit in that sweep was they went up and they were able to engage. They got on the body and they pushed those defenders out. Unfortunately, they left the blocker who's directly on their jammer out and took everybody out in front, so she was just able to keep her position, hold back that jammer. You got to go for the very first one to get your jammer some room and some movement so they can follow those offensive blocks.
Yeah, with these blockers that have individual defensive skills, just taking out that front support doesn't do it yet. And another lead jammer for Helsinki, Majurine, out of the pack first.
Cookie Rumble scrambling back and forth, taking the star here. We've seen her go defense to offense throughout the weekend. She'll put the pressure on, but 3 points are picked up there by Helsinki. They continue their scoring run.
Detroit stuck at that 94 points, and Helsinki now 131.
58-0 run here in the second half for Helsinki. Absolutely incredible coming out of that. You were talking about getting refreshed at halftime.
Yes.
You know, they had that short delay with the one game in between, but they are looking stronger here in the second half. Detroit's really got to get something going. They'll look to Ruckert to do that here in this jam. She's opposed by Kunatila. Ruckert lead jammer. Good start for Detroit to get some of that momentum back. But Kunatila shortly thereafter out on a quarter track behind. Detroit in the back. They're going to hang back and focus on defense. Meanwhile, Ruckert getting up and pushing. They're going to go for long points here. No pack called. So Ruckert taken down. She'll get through and finish a 4-point scoring pass. Low block being called on Suominen. They're also going to lose Retku.
Yes. Retku also on her way to the penalty box. So Helsinki now 2 blockers in the penalty box. That will give Detroit an advantage and put up some more points in this jam. Both teams are scoring in this jam though, but with that last scoring pass from Ruckert, they will have a point win in this jam, with Detroit putting another 3 points on this in that scoring pass.
So Detroit picking up a total of 12 points will take them over the century mark. Their first points here in the second half. They trail right now 135-106, 29 points the difference, 21 minutes the time left on the clock. Cookie Rumble for Detroit up against the 101 Taru Saksalin for Helsinki. Detroit with the blocker advantage.
It's interesting to see that Detroit now puts Cookie Rumble on as jammer. The first period she hadn't jammed at all.
Detroit, Cookie Rumble knocked down, springs back up, picks up lead jammer and draws the forearm penalty, low block penalty on Janica Saksalin.
Taru Saksalin also getting a penalty for cutting the track. So this is now a power jam with Cookie Rumble trying to even out the score again. And pushing hard on that defense, pushing them in a no-pack situation. Oh, and she stays inbounds.
Wow! Tightrope walking the outside line. The crafty vet. Amazing, and she has been a spark plug for this team, not only through her career, but throughout the weekend. Adds another 5 points. They close it now to a 19-point difference. Helsinki 135, Detroit 116.
And a little under 20 minutes left in this game. I'm excited.
Well, it is nice to close out the sanctioned play this weekend with a close game as we opened it up. Again, for those of you who didn't see the score, it was a 11-point game between Detroit and Stockholm on Friday night. Right now, Detroit trying to close that gap and retake the lead. And Ruckert's going to pick up lead jammer. Great one-footed apex jump to get clear and pick up lead.
And on Twitter, Helsinki Roller Derby is happy with that start of the second period.
They should be. Fans of Derby should just be happy with that. That was beautiful. Detroit now getting broken apart as Saksalin gets through. They spring to offensively help out Ruckert, who adds another 4. For Detroit, now 120 for them, 135 for Helsinki. So Detroit now 16 points in the last 3 jams after being shut out for the first 5.
And again, we see Cookie Rumble lined up to jam. And next to her, it is Matt Maloney.
4 defenders out there for Helsinki, 3 for Detroit. Rumble pushing to the outside. Gets knocked out. Oh, beautiful job by Domino Effect. Tiptoed backwards and forced the cut on Rumble. So it's going to be a power jam here for Mad Maloney. Some of the favorite words, I'm sure, that are heard by Helsinki fans in this game, because she has just been incredible. Here she comes. Big job up on her toe steps.
Nice opening on the outside there with that little bit of moving backwards from her blockers, preventing the Detroit blockers to recycle in front of her.
Sarah Heupel going one-on-one, gets beat by Maludi on the inside, who speeds up and has 3 Detroit defenders to deal with, and off the hook, laser beam and Kelly Janai, along with Racer McChaser. Meanwhile, in the back, 3-wall awaiting Ruckert out of the box. Janica Saxaline out there with Sarah Ekholm. Now, Helsinki back up to full strength, Detroit at full strength.
Matt Maloney back in the pack for another scoring pass, while Cookie Rumble is pushing as hard as she can. She is now able to bring it down to 2 blockers, and she is out of the pack, finishing her initial pass. Vega for Helsinki has to sit down in the penalty box. 3 points scored there for Helsinki.
13-point jam for Mad Maloney on that semi-power jam right there. Again, you got to give a lot of credit to Domina Effect for drawing that cut. That was one of those sneaky ones where the jammer gets pushed out and she's like, boop, boop, boop.
Yeah.
You know, just out of the way, just out of the line of sight.
Just bringing those hips back a little bit, so when that jammer is already moving in, having that momentum.
148 Helsinki, 120 Detroit, and forearm penalty. A fine showing for her first weekend in WFTDA action. Penalties have been a bit of an issue for her, and I'm sure we'll see her working on that as the season goes on, and she's got a great career ahead of her. Meanwhile, lead jammer for Helsinki.
Majurine jamming for Helsinki.
Helsinki with only 3 blockers, and they do the best they can, and they do a good job of getting Detroit moving, but Detroit puts on the brakes now. Helsinki back up to full strength. They're going to throw 1 offensive blocker up to mix things up. Detroit absorbing the blocks as well as Helsinki did the first pass, but Rene pushing through the middle, getting in between the shoulders and finding her way out. Great play right there, pick up 5 points.
And Ruckert is able to get around that triangle wall from Helsinki. They kept her busy for quite a while, and Suominen really showing some good defense there.
9-point jam for Helsinki. They extend their lead now by 37, the difference, 157 to 120. Still 15, 10, 9, 8 left in this game.
Back on the jammer line is Sarah Heipel. Next to her, it is Varpu Knuttila. And Knuttila pushes through, gets a little bit of help from Janica Saxaline, and is making sure she's not cutting the track. She was balancing on that outside line there. Has to reset behind the pack, is now only behind Racer McChaser, twists around her and becomes a lead jammer.
Great footwork there by Knuttila. She's got those long legs and uses it to her advantage. We now have a star pass. Haven't seen Racer McChaser jamming a ton this weekend. She did a little bit yesterday, but this will be the first time with the star for her in this game. Meanwhile, 4 quick points by Knuttila.
And she is putting on the brakes to make it a little bit more difficult for Knuttila. And of course, Knuttila now calls off the jam, thinks, yeah, I ain't got enough of that. If you're going to make it hard for me, I'll just call off jam. We'll start anew.
Right at the end of that jam, a pack destruction call on Sarah Heipel. So Detroit will send 2 blockers out and a jammer. New jammer for Detroit. Interesting choice here. They're going to go with a power jammer in Tigo Hiddies. Got Cookie Rumble out there with Meryl Slaughterberg.
And we are in the last quarter of this game with an official review for Detroit. And we will, of course, be updated by the head ref what they are putting up for discussion.
So that last 4-point jam brings Helsinki up to 161, pulling away from Detroit. 120 for the ladies in red. Helsinki putting it, I gotta say, this has been a tale of 2 halves for Helsinki. I mean, it was a good first half, but the penalty troubles were a real issue. Their jammers have really cleaned it up here in the second half. Part of that is we haven't seen Taru Saxaline as much in the second half. She was having a lot of trouble they've gone more short shift with Matt Maloney, who's having success. And that's a great job by the bench to recognize those trends and really jump on them and take advantage. You want to trim out and get rid of any liabilities and go with your strengths.
And of course, Knutila also showing really good jamming for Helsinki.
Yeah, she's been a good secondary option, as well as MIA. We haven't seen a lot of her in the second half, but Rene also doing some great work with the Jammer Star. It is a team effort, of course.
And of course,
this is Detroit's official review, in which they're challenging the lack of cutting call on Helsinki's Jammer on their initial pass.
Okay, so now Detroit looking for a cut call. Of course, right at the end of the first half, Helsinki challenged a non-call on a cut for the Detroit Jammer. They won that and started their meteoric rise in points here in the second half. They have put up, let me do the quick math here, 88 points in about 16 minutes. They had 73 points in the first half. In half that time, they've put up 88 points. Detroit, meanwhile, 94 points in the first half, and they've put up 26 points in that 15 minutes. So this last 14 minutes or so could go either way. It would help Detroit a lot if they win this official review. And, of course, if Helsinki gets it to go in their favor, then that's just going to, I believe, kind of help their momentum.
But also consider that taking a review, and we're going to get an update soon, of course. Taking a review is a longer break for your team.
Yep.
Maybe I've heard coaches calling an official review just to give their team a rest.
Right.
And I mean that's of course a good way to also maybe reset and refresh.
And as you reset for this last 15 minutes of gameplay, refresh your browser, check out Sucker Punch, their website. They've got a very user-friendly web shop and simple and fast shipping.
And of course you can talk to us and have us give a shout out to anybody who's also watching perhaps.
Yeah.
You can use hashtag #TalkToSmackDown. The referees are now discussing if they do have seen that cutting or not. And with cutting the track calls, well, we saw it happening at the end of that first period. They did get that official review and that call made. Of course, Detroit hopes to get theirs in now. Coach is patiently waiting for the results. The referees look very focused and concentrated, and they have been through this whole weekend. They had this crew will be done after this game, and then there is the other crew doing the last game.
Yeah, a well-deserved rest after a long weekend of work. Of course, anybody who's been a roller derby official knows it can be seemingly a thankless job at times, but of course we are thanking them here on the stream. And everybody in-house, I'm guessing, has been very gracious and appreciative too.
And even we've seen signs for the officials as well. I know that Copenhagen has a big officials crew that, okay, I'm going to leave it to the ref.
In review, Helsinki's Jammer never left the out-of-bounds area completely and then re-entered legally behind the initiating blocker. No call will stand. Detroit will not retain their review.
That's a clear answer.
All right, there we go. So Detroit, no review left on the board. They do have 2 timeouts. Helsinki with 3 timeouts and their review left here in this last 13:51 of gameplay. Helsinki 161, Detroit 120. Here we go. Helsinki has the advantage on the track, and they've got Matt Maloney with the Jammer Star. Oh, Meryl Slaughterberg swung out by Cookie Rumble, but Maloney jumps in behind her and picks up lead jammer. Meanwhile, Tiggo Hitty's first time jamming this weekend. gets through and finishes her initial pass just out of turn 2. One-on-one Cookie Rumble with a beautiful backwards takeout on Mad Maloney, and that will force the call off. Maloney did pick up points. Did she get all 4? Did she get hips passed? Yes, the referee says she did. So 4 points added to Helsinki's total, 165 to 120.
Lining up the newer jammer for Detroit, Jillian Ruckert. And next to her it is Majorine. And she has shown some really nice jamming for Helsinki. Slight advantage for Helsinki at this point with 4 blockers on the track, but it is Ruckert out first. She is lead jammer for Detroit.
Nice one-footed transition on the fly from Ruckert to get that lead. Knocked out of bounds there, going to come back and reset. Dancing through on the inside, and outside Packer says she blocked from out of bounds. Might have been an assist. Either way, she's going to the penalty box, and it's a power jam again here for Helsinki. Heupel joining Ruckert in the box. Meanwhile, Jen Price locking up and sending Irene to the infield. She comes back now, takes it from Price, locked up by Off the Hook. Passive offense being employed by Helsinki, pays off. Nice body work wrapping around and getting through for a grand slam. Power jam continues for Irene. Domino effect out of the box. Great offense, locking up Racer McChaser. And Irene going to swim past, getting through on the inside line and finish with a 5-pointer.
Ruckert back from the penalty box and charges that Helsinki wall while Majorine finds that inside open and scores another 4 points for Helsinki. Ruckert now on her way to the pack.
Rene hitting the pack hard. Take down Jen Price, stays behind the defender. So meanwhile, Ruckert not finding any room. Racer McChaser on Rene, almost rides her up, but Rene stays in bounds. Phenomenal athleticism and 4 points her reward.
Ruckert now also out of the pack. Both jammers on their way for another scoring pass. Rene staying inbounds on that one-legged line balancing. Clockwise block called on
Domino Effect, who sent Ruckert out right at the end of that jam.
Official review called by Helsinki.
So 4 more points going up for Helsinki. Look like a pair of points for Ruckert. Our total right now, 187 for Helsinki, 130 for Detroit, 57 points separate these teams. And Detroit's really going to get something going if they want to come back into this one. They've got 10:45 left to do it, but right now it looks like all Helsinki.
It sure does. They have really come back strong in that second period. And Detroit, they're not doing bad, of course, but
Yeah.
Helsinki is just really bringing it, and it's effective what they're doing. They're really making it work, and I think it's the offense also that now helps their jammers. And also I see the jammers, they're picking the jammers of now a jammer rotation of 3, I think.
Yeah, it's mostly been Kuritila,
Looney and
Rene.
Rine, Knutila, and Mad Maloney, and they've been the most effective in the first period. That was a good call.
This is Helsinki's official review. They are challenging the lack of an insubordination call on Detroit's jammer for failure to leave the track after receiving a penalty.
All right, we'll let them discuss that and come back with an answer here in just a minute. Meanwhile, reminder, you've only got about 11 minutes left of gameplay to tweet at us. Get your shout-outs in. Here from the European SmackDown, it's a talk, the number 2 SmackDown with the hashtag in front of it.
And you can use different means of social media. Facebook, Twitter. What else do we have?
Instagram, smoke signals, carrier pigeons.
Yeah, cool. I don't think they would make it in 11 minutes.
Well,
Gameplay
depends
left.
where they're coming from.
That's true. Maybe somebody in Malmö is watching the stream as well. Let us know if you're watching. Talk to SmackDown. Hashtag Talk to SmackDown.
We got Dana Jensen-Wall says, "Go on, Helsinki!" And retweeting the over the 100 mark. Yes, that was back when they took the lead. They still have the lead after trailing. They took the lead in the second jam of the second half and have extended it since then. Right now, 57 points in favor of Helsinki. Now, an interesting contrast, of course, Helsinki getting the addition of Mad Maloney and Domino Effect to a team that has been pretty consistent from year to year. The core is much the same as it was last year, adding those two high-level players. Detroit, some names that most Derby fans will recognize: Cookie Rumble, Racer McChaser, Laserbeam's been around for a while. But a lot of new players on Detroit. Quick look at their roster. Of course, we mentioned Jillian Rookard, her first year. Swift Justice coming back after a year off and an injury. Jen Price, second season with the All-Stars. Did not get to see much action last year, along with Off the Hook, who came back from injury last year. So first full season of getting gameplay. Lollipops from Hard, new skater for Detroit All-Stars. Tiggo Hitty's back for a second year. Slaughterberg back. Kelly Janai, formerly Murder City Mistress. Freakin' Reekin, a staple. Peaches and Creamy, new. And, of course, Sarah Heupel, a returning skater after spending all those years with the Texecutioners down in Austin.
And also coming back from an injury.
That's correct, yeah. So it's been an interesting thing to see her come back for Detroit. She's already made an impact. We're going to go down to the floor.
In review, Detroit's jammer wasn't expected to be reasonably expected to acknowledge that she has received the penalty until reaching area of corners 3 and 4, after which she left the track. No call will stand, and Helsinki will not retain their review.
Okay. What I'm gathering from that is that the call was coming in. It wasn't something that was directly, it was an outside pack ref, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it was. So by the time it was communicated to her, she left in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that she heard it, recognized it, and willfully took her time or whatever. But either way, official review lost by Helsinki. And right now, Detroit looking to Cookie Rumble to get things back going. And again, she picks up lead jammer, gazelling through on the inside line for Detroit.
I always have so much respect for jammers who do that. They can just those step over those legs. Ooh, Knutsila. Losing her balance a little bit there on the turn 3.
Yeah, Cookie Rumble with a beautiful jump and then ran into one of her teammates. It was the only team that could stop her, and that jam was her own.
Yes.
And that will add to their point total, bring Detroit up to 134. Helsinki, 187, 53 points in favor of the green and yellow.
And a little under 10 minutes left in this game. If you just tuned in, you missed something. But
yeah,
let me tell you, Detroit is playing in red and Helsinki is playing in green. Helsinki taking the lead in this second period after Detroit having the lead all of the first period.
Racer McChaser taking the start, starting with the start for the first time. She did get a, oh, I'm sorry,
Single hitties.
38-28.
Yeah.
They have similar stature. Either way, Tiggo Hitty's second jam out here. There's Racer McChaser picking off Mad Ballooney just before going out of play.
She did get lead jammer before she got hit over that outside line, but she is recycled all the way back to the pivot line and needs to reset and get through that pack another time while Tiggo Hitties.
You almost compounded that. Don't worry about it. She did it on purpose to mess with announcers. Anyways. Yeah, Lollipop some hard into the box on that one. Interesting lineup for Detroit. They go with a non-traditional jammer and Tiggo Hitties. And near, all the other blockers out there are usual jammers for Detroit. So there's an interesting look here as time winding down. Detroit trying to come up with some solutions to get points on the board. 53 points. Helsinki's got the lead. And comfortably. All they need to do right now is kill time and kind of mitigate any disasters and stay out of the box.
But the choice of Cookie Rumble has been successful for Detroit. She has put points on the board in this second period.
Rene also putting up some big points for Helsinki, however, is going to get lead jammer. Cookie Rumble speeding through, half lap behind Rene. Rene coming up, slows down, eyes the situation, and a great job. Laser beam getting locked up right there. That line having a little bit of difficulty here in the second half. Some great offense being played by Helsinki. They're doing a good job of getting different angles, you know, and that's the thing I love. I don't know about you, Whips, but the thing that I love about offense is there are so many different ways you can do it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, one person, a solo attack, or maybe with the whole team, that kind of swipe. It all depends on the resistance you get, of course, what kind of blockers are on the track. But Helsinki has been very effective with the solo attacks, and Ekholm has been one of those blockers that has done and has shown a lot team. And Swift Justice is now, no, as I say it,
yep.
Of course, she comes out as lead jammer.
Yeah, rolled around domino effect. A star pass attempted right there by Kunitila, and that domino effect just slamming Swift Justice to the ground. Star pass becomes a stash. Kunitila gonna work past Racer McChaser, finish her initial pass. Swift Justice getting sent to the outfield. Lead jammer gets the signal to call it before Kunitila can get back in. Detroit now 6.5 minutes ticking off. They still trail. Helsinki pulling away in that one. And you know, we mentioned, whatever, I'm an announcer, I'm just going to speak my mind. We did mention how Helsinki has really, they recognized which jammers were the most successful, and they shortened their jammer rotation here in the second half. Detroit going with a different option, throwing different jammers out there. I'm really surprised we haven't seen Meryl Slaughterberg as much here in the second half. Obviously, Cookie Rumble was successful, and they've stuck with her, but the support jammers besides her haven't had as much success. You know, they're going back to Tigo Hiddies. Again, it's early in the season, and it's a good opportunity to get people some opportunities at this level to jam. But I'm surprised they didn't tighten it down with a Meryl Slaughterberg Cookie Rumble rotation.
Well, I do understand why they didn't put Ruckert on, because she just had her 7th penalty and is fouled out. So
she did that as a blocker, however.
As a blocker.
So,
but of course, the first 6 she got as a jammer.
That's right, and that's an issue that they're going to have to work on. Here we go, Tigo Hiddies getting some nice power and speed behind her, and she's going to have a power jam. Detroit drawing the track cut
on Matt Maloney.
Thank you. Janai comes up to shake things up. It's going to hit and stop. Meanwhile, Tigo Hiddies being slowed down right now. Passive offense by Detroit. They got to get in there and break things up. We got to get some points going if they're going to take the lead. Meanwhile, Helsinki doing exactly what they should. Slow, grind, hold those jammers back, don't get caught up.
Matt Maloney standing up in the penalty box. The Detroit blockers totally aware, waiting for her arrival.
Tigo Hiddies gets the track cut drawn right there. Another good job by the pivot for Helsinki. That was Suominen.
Both jammers now on their way to the penalty box. A
high block being called on Matt Maloney, so it's a foot race to the box. Tig will sit first, then Maloney, then they'll both be released simultaneously nearly.
Always fun to see that happening. And Matt Maloney makes use of it. She is now finishing her initial pass out of the pack on her way to score points.
Every time you say somebody from Helsinki is finishing something, I laugh a little inside.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's the pun lover in me.
Yeah.
Here she goes, Mad Maloney, good job pushing. Easy work right there. Lolly pops him hard, takes her down and gets through. 5 points going up for Mad Maloney. Coming back around, Slaughterberg taking the star from Tigo Hiddies. Tig switching to defense and forcing Maloney out just outside the straightaway. Going to draw her back. As Slaughterberg's dragged back as well.
Well, yeah, one jammer on the inside drawn back and another jammer on the outside drawn back. That's the end of 2 minutes. Helsinki still with a pretty comfortable lead with 196. Or, yeah, of course, when I say it,
Yep.
it changes on our screen. 199, 1 point away from the 200 mark. And Detroit with 148. 3 minutes and 46 seconds left in this game.
41 points in favor of Helsinki. 3:40 left. Detroit does still have 2 timeouts left. Helsinki has all 3. Detroit wants to stop the clock and try and get some more jams, and they will have the opportunity to do so. Track cut on the pivot for Helsinki as Cookie Rumble picks up lead jammer. Janica Saxaline takes a seat. Helsinki jammer sent to the infield, now comes back in. Rene knocked down, and I feel, oh, Cookie Rumble getting a forearm.
Majorina now pushing against off the hook. She is able to get out. That was her initial pass, so now on her way to try to put points on the board.
Detroit coming back to reset. Beautiful pick right there by Domino Effect. A double push sending Price and Peaches and Creamy out of the way. Big knockdown right there as Jen Price comes up. She's going to get a forearm, though, for extending those arms. That was Ekholm that got taken down, but she jumps right back up to anchor that cube defense up in front. Here comes Detroit to break things up. Cookie Rumble scrambling up front, taken down by Domino Effect. Another takedown right there, but then losing her edges is Vega. Cookie pushing, looking for room, tiptoes on the inside, dodges a last-second hit. Meanwhile, locked up in the back, Mayurine finds room on the inside, past Peaches and Creamy, finishes a 4-point scoring pass. They're going to let this one go long because, well, they have to. There's no lead jammer. Cookie Rumble up to the outfield. Steps back in gingerly just to be careful. Meanwhile, Rene forced out. Peaches and Creamia with Racer McChaser and Jen Price. Price with the shoulder into Rene. Then the takedown in the turn by number 22. Helsinki, though, not going to bite and worry about offense. They're just going to focus on defense because that's all they need to do right now. They force Cookie out of bounds. Cookie will pick up a couple more points, 3 more points for Helsinki. And Detroit going to stop the clock with 1:29 left on the board. It's 2:16 Helsinki, 1:59 Detroit.
Possibly the last jam still to go. And yeah, that is, it's been surprising to me what happened in this second period. I mean, the first period was completely different.
Yeah.
Different game. The Helsinki has really, really shown that mentally they made a switch in the halftime and went for it.
Yeah, and that's, you know, some of the beautiful games we've seen this weekend. I harken back, I know they lost by about 100 points, did Helsinki to Crime City, but what a great game of changes. Those teams making adjustments on the fly and out of halftime. I mean, halftime is the obvious adjustment you're going to see for a lot of teams. But when you recognize that a team is really good at offense, okay, well, making that adjustment on the fly, how do we adapt that and how do we steal the good things we're seeing? And I thought that was an absolutely wonderful game. If you get a chance to go back and watch Crime City versus Helsinki, please do, because you just see the evolution of high-level gameplay throughout the game.
Yes, you definitely see that. And so much respect for these players playing multiple games in a weekend.
Here we go, 1:23, 22, 21 left in this game. It's Meryl Slaughterberg with the star versus Mad Maloney. Maloney jumping back and forth. We've got a cut right now on Janica Saxaline, so that will leave Helsinki short another blocker. Kelly Janai, solid performance this weekend. Locked up on Maloney, going to send her almost to the outfield. Oh, and she does. It's a track cut, and now lead jammer for Meryl Slaughterberg. It's a power jam here as time winds down. Jam time does eclipse period time. But the score, 2:16 to 1:59 for Detroit. I have a feeling a lot of it's going to be about picking up those extra points and getting the differential down. Meryl Slaughterberg knocked out. And the track cut being called right there after a penalty issued to number 77, Retku. Meryl Slaughterberg being called for the cut. The other defender was cut, and that will spring Mad Maloney. Mad Maloney wearing number 22 in green and yellow, and Malou on her back. You see Domina Effect also wearing her real name. Detroit's full formation out there doing a good job anticipating on the infield, but Maloney making it difficult. Big takedown right there as Malou gets tied up with Racer McChaser in turn 4. Maloney going to reset, and right now it's just about waiting and letting that time roll out there on the power jam still. Meryl Slaughterberg released from the boxes. Maloney gets a track cut. Slaughterberg out and through with a star stash. There will be a completed pass for no points. Another penalty, this one to Tina Kimari of Helsinki. 3 defenders out there dealing with Slaughterberg. Good job by Helsinki to pick her off on the outside. That was Iris Suominen. And they will hold strong as Slaughterberg gets there and pushes. 3 more points for Detroit, none more for Helsinki. But Helsinki's second half push, great adjustments, enough to overtake Detroit and propel them into a 2-1 record this weekend. Detroit falls to 1-3. 216 to 162. And ladies and gentlemen, if you read that Helsinki to Detroit, it is a palindrome. 261 to 162, a 6-digit palindrome in roller derby, brought to us by Radar Wheels, who will also be providing goods for our tournament MVPs.